Hi, everyone. I am Demi. I am the social media and digital editor for Indie 1023. And I'm here with Shamir Bailey, aka Shamir.
Hi,
Hi. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's really nice right now in Philadelphia.
Oh, you're in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
What are you doing out there?
I've lived out here the last like 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
you're not
people
in like
think,
LA or in New York or any of
oh
those
God,
places.
no,
You're
no,
like,
no.
mm-mm.
You're the first person that assumed that. A lot of people assume that I'm still in Vegas since, that's where I was like born and raised.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I moved to New York to record my debut, but only to record my debut. As soon as I was done tracking it, I was like, bye.
You were like, see ya.
Yeah, I can't do big cities, but I still do like cities. And like Philly is just like the right size for me. Like it's still city vibes, but it's still small and it's still just like, and then also like I just love Philly. It's just like my favorite American city, like period.
That's a hot tip. I've actually never been. One
You
day.
gotta, you actually gotta come. Everyone who, and no one thinks about, I didn't even think about Philly when I first came. I just came kind of by chance. But everyone who comes, they're like, oh, this is like great.
Yeah. I've like never would have thought about that at ever, but like honestly considering like how expensive it would be to like have your own space and like possibly a home studio and things like that, it would make sense to live in like Philadelphia or somewhere that's like not as expensive as New York or LA.
Well, it's not as expensive as New York and LA, but it's also like it's really coming up as like, a hot spot of like music and art as well. Like it's a really artistic city. Like a lot of artists are coming out of Philly right now.
Yeah. Well, look at you paving the way for artists in Philadelphia.
Oh
Have you
God, no, I don't want
collaborated with anybody while out there?
I don't want them to fight me and think that I'm trying to put myself at the helm of the Philly music scene. Okay. They humbly invited me, okay? But yeah, I mean, I started a label out here just for the
Yeah.
reason there's so much talent out here. So like Grant Painful, who we just released, he's born and raised out here. I've known him since he was 16. We met at like DIY basement shows around the city. Like, yeah,
How much has the music scene changed there like since the pandemic?
I mean, we don't have basement shows. I don't know, like, you know.
Oh,
But also it's like it's fine because like, in DIY, it's not like it's a corporation taking a hit. So it's just like you can pick up whenever again.
have you noticed that the community rallies more around like the creative arts, like when it's like a do-it-yourself scene?
Yeah, I mean, of course, that's one of the main reasons why I came here because it's just like you go to New York or LA, right? It's like really competitive. Whereas like
Yeah.
out here, everyone is just nurturing each other. Everyone's an artist and everyone's just nurturing each other. And it's like, Philly's really known for their murals and like,
Mhm.
so it's just really cool that the city just even kind of like sets aside a lot of space for that. And like, one of my closest friends, Marianne, like she's doing a mural like at the airport right now, which is just like amazing. And it's just like really cool to see her growth from when we first met. And it's just a bunch of just artists just like nurturing each other. But it's also like not a big deal. No one's trying to like make it. It's just like we just out here.
Yeah, we're all doing stuff that we love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm out of Denver and I feel like the community is very similar here. There's like a lot of collaboration, a lot of artists just kind of working with each other, a lot of do-it-yourself scenes, but also like corporate music is getting pretty big here as well, like with all the new music venues and things that have been built. But yeah, I really love like the community that the artists have built, and it just makes it feel so much different and more inviting than any other music scene that I've ever been a part of. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Well, let's talk about your music because you've been pretty busy, literally since like the beginning of the year. Yeah, let's talk about Cataclysm. So, one, the name. It's like you knew. You were like, this year is going to be a shit show.
It's like it's really crazy how just like not only Cataclysm but like on my own and just like how literally it's almost like I think you know um our problematic queen Courtney Love once once said, because she wrote "Live Through This" before Kurt
Mhm.
Cobain died, but like, a lot of those lyrics seem to be seemingly about his death and everything that she was going through,
Yeah.
and she mentions how she felt so connected to the lyrics, but also a weird disconnect because there wasn't a specific thing that she could pinpoint it to until after
Mhm.
his death. And I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of times my lyrics are like that, where they're almost kind of like psychic, where she's like,
Yeah.
and it's been like that. I feel like my whole career, like even starting back during the Ratchet era, when I would like incorporate country music into my stuff, and then flash forward a few years later, and the Yeehaw movement happens.
Yeah.
So it's really crazy. Like I really do think that like I'm not like psychic as a person, but my music is.
Yeah. That's so interesting to tap into like that kind of energy when it comes to like your creativity. That's I love that that your music kind of like can foretell, like
Yeah.
shadow some events. Please make a hopeful, happy,
I'm
like
trying.
fire tune next.
I'm trying, I'm just picking up what I'm getting. As soon as I feel the energy, I'll let you know. Because trust me, I want it as much as you.
The energy is not great right now, so it's like
It's a little dusty,
it's, it's a bit dusty is the perfect word for that.
Yeah,
Dusty,
dusty,
yes,
ashy, especially in the West Coast, you know, those
a
poor
little
people.
ashy,
It
just a
looks like the
little.
end of days out there.
Whew, this is why we stay inside. But yeah, so Cataclysm in the works. Like, how long did it take for you to produce that full album?
So the crazy thing about Cataclysm is that that was supposed to be a shelved record that I never thought that I would release. Yeah, yeah. So I had obviously it's kind of like a doom pop album, and I like wanted
Yes.
to like I had this whole idea of like, I like mixed it to tape, and I wanted it to kind of have this feeling where it's like it's the last cassette you find in the ruins after the earth is just like scorched. Like I wanted it to sound like that. And so I started working on that record honestly as far as back to 2017.
Oh, wow.
And it's the longest I ever worked on a record. It's the longest I ever worked on a record. Like literally like I want to say a year and a half, almost 2 years worth of work. Because the plan was when I had my old management team was to shop the record to multiple labels and see who will pick it up. And no one picked it up. So I was like, maybe this record is bad. So and I got so bored in the like shopping process that obviously I released music in between that time. I released Revelations, I released not Revelations, but Resolution, and I released BDE Here Comes the Hog. In between that time where I was like working on this record that I thought was going to be like the pinnacle of things,
Yeah.
and when no one picked it up, I was like, okay, well, maybe that's a sign it's bad. I'll put it up. I mean, the way I write, I can just continue to make a whole another project. Um, but when everything kind of happened now, I was just like, okay, I feel like this record needs to be heard because the correlation is just too insane. It was almost like the universe like, now you need to release it.
Yes.
I think it was just again a little too ahead of its time for some people.
It's so crazy. Like the timing was just like unreal. It's like maybe you were sitting on it for a reason.
It was just never gonna come. I was just never gonna release it. I was just like, maybe I just like this, and like that's fine. I'm fine with. Listen, I don't make music for other people. I make music for me first. And if no one likes it, I'm like, fine, I'll pack it up. I really don't care. I like the record. That's all that matters.
Yes. I feel like there needs to be more of that in the music industry of like, let's just release it. Even if it's like something that I'm not like, whoa about, or even if it's like I don't feel like people are gonna be stoked about, like it still doesn't matter. It's like something that I've created and I'm proud of it. And that's just that.
Yeah, someone's gonna have your taste.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's correct. So tell me about the intro to the album, it's like literally hell. It's literally hell.
Maybe, yeah.
I listened to this album like the day that my workplace like went into stay-at-home orders. And so I was like, buckle up, we're along for a ride.
Yeah, I and like that song is well, that song is an autobiography. I'm talking about myself in that song. As I say the chorus, I'm hell, but covered in a candy coated shell. You know,
Yes.
I'm sweet and sour. What can I say? I'm like a little sour packet.
Sometimes they're sweet, sometimes they're sour.
And honestly, that depends on you. I could be sweet at all times if you want that. But if you try me, that's your fault.
I feel like I also live that like daily mantra. So yes, we're aligned.
Love that.
So what song on there was the hardest to work on? Like what did you think was the song that was holding you back?
The whole thing was the hardest to work on. There's I should never spend that long on a project, is what I learned. And I never will, and I never have. The upcoming subtitle was done in 2 weeks. I just can't I just can't overthink my music. The second I overthink my music, it won't work. And I'm lucky that this even worked in the small context that it did.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't overthink my music.
Were
That's
there other people that you collaborated with while creating this project?
not Cataclysm, no. I self-produced that as well.
Wow. Yeah,
I worked
so it
with
was
an engineer.
definitely like some pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with an engineer, but
Mhm.
so like me and my engineer Zach, but it's just me and him and just going at it.
Wow. So how has like your creativity shifted since finally putting it out? I know you've released like 3 singles since then, but did it feel like, oh, there's this weight off of my shoulders and now I want to create more? Or did you feel like you needed to take a break or what?
Well, I just put it out because of the correlation of just like
Yes.
the times and how I already just had this record lying around.
Yeah.
But I was in the process of getting ready to record my self-titled. So
Yes.
that's the headspace that I was in. And it was just like, again, it was just like the universe. It's just like aside from the universe, it's like, drop this. Like
Drop
this
it.
time. Um, and yeah, and it obviously just made sense in like so many ways. It's just again, it was just timing, and it was just a timing thing. It was just a spur of the moment timing thing that just made the most sense because of like everything that was going on. Because also at the time too, it was just like um I dropped it too because I was just like, I don't even know if I'll be able to finish the self-titled record,
Yeah.
Um, because I never, I mean, I have, but it's just like I knew I wanted the self-title to be a little bit more cleaner. So I was like even kind of worried about like recording my own parts in quarantine. But also I'm glad that I
Mm.
did it too because I learned a lot. And the songs that I did do in quarantine for the self-titled, I'm like proud of. So
Yeah. And they sound totally different than Cataclysm.
oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, every single one of my records sound different from
It's
the
so different.
yeah.
But I love that. For me, it's like it shows what a chameleon you are in your work and like that you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to try new things. And so, was this exciting to take like this direction in your sound? It's a little bit more like pop rock.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I think, I think it was exciting in the sense that I was like really excited to kind of like, because I feel like for the last like 5 years post Ratchet, there was a real division between my fan base. It
Mm-hmm.
was the the pop gays who was like, why is Shamir making lo-fi bedroom rock right now? Like the gays and the girls need him right now. Like what is going on? But then also there was just a whole another side of my fan base that only know me as like DIY rock Shamir, which is like insane to think about sometimes. But like I did an interview with this guy, and he was just like, I literally discovered you on Revelations, and when I was preparing for this interview, I like went back and was like, what is this ratchet shit? And I
Yeah.
was like, that's crazy. Like that's really crazy to me because I just automatically assumed that people know Ratchet first, but then also Ratchet was like a half a decade ago. That's a whole nother generation. And a
Yes.
whole nother generation only know me as like Guitar Shamir. But so
Yeah.
I feel like this record was like, let me merge, let me bring both sides together because I felt that division and it made me feel awkward a lot of times. And I never wanted anyone to feel isolated. Like I never wanted the
Mhm.
people, who like the more poppy stuff to be like that, like I um like had like remorse for ever doing pop stuff or resented them,
Yeah.
it was never that. I think I only like resented the fact that like the way that I went about it was just not me, like there was just a lot of
Mhm.
coercion as far as like the producer, my management, the label,
Yeah.
um but I think I always have strived to like make my music as accessible as possible,
Mhm.
um because I want my music to be heard by as many people as possible, like I'm not out here trying to
Yeah.
be avant-garde, but the weird aspects of my music are just weird because I'm weird, like can't help it.
That's why your fans love you. I think that there's, yeah, there is this very different, like, you shift a lot, like, when it comes to like your sound, but I don't think that it's a bad thing. Yeah, I've been listening to you since Ratchet, and I saw you in Denver when you toured for Ratchet. And I was just like, I love this kid. I don't know.
Went to that show at the Bluebird.
It was at the Bluebird.
That
Yeah.
was listen. Okay, little behind the scenes with for that show. I have completely lost my voice 2 days before that show, and I was on
What?
rest all day the day before, which is hard for me. And at this point, and this is when I was still smoking cigarettes. I just passed my year mark, no cigarettes, so I just stopped smoking. But I was still smoking cigarettes then, and I was
No.
obviously stressed out because I was in the middle of tour and I lost my voice. So I was still gonna continue smoking cigarettes. So I was
Oh
like
no.
vocal rest, but still sucking on Marble Lights. And my tour manager and like my band was just like, he's still smoking cigarettes and like his voice is not gonna come back. It's gonna be a mess. And as soon as I got on stage, like you saw, it was great. And there was a
Yeah.
point where my backup singer Tiffany look, I was just like hitting all these crazy high notes, and like my backup singer Tiffany just like looks over at me and
What's
she's just
happening?
like, "What is going on? What?" He literally, I could not talk the previous days before, and I was still smoking cigarettes, and they was just like, his voice is not going to come back.
His voice is fine. It's fine. Yeah,
I'm
whatever.
a powerful little look. She's very light, but she's powerful.
She also knew. She was like, I need to turn out for these people because who knows when I'll be back.
Yeah, and then also, Ali X opened that show, so that's just was just an iconic bill all around. So that
Yes.
was a good show.
That was like one of my first shows like at that venue too. So yeah, you turned out. It was great. But yeah, like your sound from Ratchet has like evolved like significantly, like since all the way to Cataclysm. And so listening to these three singles, so the three singles that sorry, have been released are how am I forgetting? This is why I wrote it down. Mhm. Yes, On My Own, which is I don't know why I'm spacing. That's like my favorite single that you've released so far. On My Own, Running, and then you also have one more, I Wonder. Yeah. So what's interesting about those is I feel like lyrically they all are telling a very similar like story, but once again we're in isolation. So like you releasing like these singles is like hitting different, especially because I feel like people are going through so much when it comes to like their relationships right now. They're being tested so much. And these lyrics are speaking to not just me, I'm sure it's speaking to a ton of other people. So
Yeah, I feel I don't. I'm just such a frank person. I'm like a person that gets off on like like brutal honesty.
yes.
Even if it hurts me, it's just something about the sting of brutal honesty. I love it. Like it's kind of like it's almost like a kink. It's just like give me that brutal honesty, no dancing around, you know. So sometimes my lyrics are like that, and I can't help it, you
Yes.
know. Like I'm a very frank writer in my music. I don't like to use too many metaphors, and when I
Mhm.
am using metaphors, it's like you know what I mean, you know.
Yeah. There's no
People,
confusion.
there's no confusion. People
Mhm.
have described my lyrics as it's like it's almost like you're having a conversation with me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I
That's
really like to
exactly how it
write in
feels.
that way. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's interesting listening to Cataclysm and then listening to these three singles because it was just kind of like everything's chaos and da 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 da, and like, but then listening to these singles, it was just kind of like, okay, I need to be introspective. I need to think more about like what's going on with me, what's going on in this situation, and this total sound shift as well is kind of like what threw me off, like, but it was beautiful because I Wonder feels like this like power ballad, and then like on my own is very much like upbeat. It's like, yeah, things are we're going through it right now, but it's like we're taking the high road and we want to respect ourselves, and like it just I love it. Like I think that your releasing of Cataclysm and going into this version of the new album is like so beautiful because it's telling like an all-encompassing story. And
Well,
so
the last time I released 2 records in a year was 2017, which was also which still was my most transformative year, even past this one. Um, and you know, I had released Hope and then Revelations.
mhm,
And to me, even just the way that the names of the albums like come together is very much like what it was. Like Hope was like me fighting for hope, fighting for answers essentially. And Revelations was the revelations that I got from asking all those questions. You know, it was the answers, you know. And so they kind of like were sister records in that way. And I
mhm.
think Cataclysm and this new self-titled is sister records in that way, in the sense that like, but in a sense of like Cataclysm is death
Mhm.
and the self-titled is rebirth.
Yeah.
So I think Cataclysm really encapsulates death and kind of just like the ending of a cycle essentially. Um,
Yes.
the butterfly represents death and rebirth, you know. And I kind of like,
Speaking of,
yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a butterfly. What can I say?
yes.
And so yeah, so I think Cataclysm is like definitely like it's the ending of the cycle, you know, like not even just like death as far as just like mortality, but just like the ending of a cycle. And then the self-titled is just the rebirth, the start of something new. The okay, we've gone through the BS. Now we what do we do from here? How can we go on and how can we cope?
Mm. A beautiful butterfly transition. We love it. Well, when can we expect your new album, your self-titled?
October 2nd. Yeah.
October 2nd. We're ready. We are ready. We're ready for this rebirth. And I am so honored. Thank you again for taking this time to speak with me. And thank you to everybody who's watching. And yeah, make sure to stream, download, everything, support Shamir's new album, self titled, October 2nd. And yeah, catch Cataclysm as well on all of the streaming devices, download, and the three new singles as well. And keep
Also,
listening to
as of
ND
now,
1023. Wait,
as
say that again.
also want to say as of now, there's only like I think like 19 Cataclysm cassettes left, and they all go to charity to um, the Center for Black Equality, so or Black Equity. So yeah, um,
Get on that.
where they're gone.
Not to be missed. Go support a good cause and listen to some good music.
Yeah,
Yes. But thank you again, Shamir. I really appreciate it.
no problem.
Awesome. And make sure to tune in to Indie 1023, and we'll see you next time.